Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Ulysses Town Board. It is May 27th, 2025, and I will call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. May we please have a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Boggs.
Present.
Ms. Weatherby.
Present.
Ms. Olson.
Present.
Mr. Goldman. Ms. Bouchard.
Present.
Roxanne, can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Great. The first item up is the approval of the meeting agenda. The agenda was posted. This is from Friday. Any changes or alterations requested for this particular agenda?
Nope.
Here.
Okay, so accept a motion to approve.
Move to approve as submitted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, let's move into, we have a public hearing scheduled. The public hearing is for the purpose of consideration, a local law that replaces Chapter 89 of the Town Code entitled Flood Damage Prevention. This is the law we have before you today. This is the law that the model law was established, created by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And this follows the FEMA releasing, it's a several-year process, but on January 18th of this year, they released their new mapping, environmental, or not environmental mapping, flood mapping for Tompkins County. And that triggers a 5-month process whereby municipalities have to adopt a resolution with these features in it in order for our residents to qualify for FEMA backed flood insurance.
Oh.
Sorry about that. So that's what we have before you today, and that's what we're hearing a public hearing on. And so may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open public hearing.
Thank you. So many openings. I'm going to consider one of those. Is there a second in there?
Second.
We have lots of first. Pick your poison of who seconded or firsted. Okay. The public hearing is open. Oh, actually, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public hearing then is effectively open. Any member of the public is entitled to 3 minutes. Let me get my my little clock, my little timer going. Okay. And can address the board on the subject. Anybody in the public wish to address the town board? Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? On the block?
No, thanks.
So going once. Is there anybody interested? We'll come back for going twice and third. Did anybody submit comments to the public?
No, they did not.
No public comments. Okay. Second time, is anybody interested in speaking?
I had questions that I emailed you just about the effective dates.
Sure.
And what the timing was of the flood study that was done, and you answered that in email, so thank you. I should be looking at the one for Seneca County because that's where our cottage floods. And but I was of interest learning about it through Tompkins County, so thank you so much for your response to that and clarifying it.
My pleasure.
Is there still a FEMA that will implement this?
As of now.
Fortunately, there's still insurance backed by FEMA, but who knows? Okay, final request if anybody has a comment on this before we close the public hearing. Okay, well, I've got something. Hi, we're doing a public hearing right now on the local law on flood prevention. Were you interested in speaking on that?
I wasn't speaking, I just wanted to listen, is that okay?
Oh, no, you're always welcome to, but we were just about to close the public hearing, so if you wanted to speak on this topic, I wanted you to make sure you had an opportunity. But if we don't, then I will accept a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That brings us to privilege of the floor. We'll get back to the law in a few minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to address the town board on any subject? You have up to 3 minutes. Anybody in person who wishes to address us? Oh, it looks like Roxanne has her hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just wanted to remind the board, and the public who might be listening, that on this Thursday at 6 o'clock, starting at 6 o'clock at the fire hall is, the public workshop meeting on well and septic maintenance and care. And, I'm just speaking on behalf of the Drinking Water Committee. And so the agenda is that there's just gonna be a little bit about the drinking water source protection plan process. I think Michael's gonna speak on that. And then there's RCAP, who was Becky, who helped us with our survey, is gonna speak on private well basics, groundwater pathogens, all those things. And then also they're gonna talk about septic system basics, and there's gonna be time for questions. Going to be a little bit on the well survey results. You already heard a presentation on that, the board did. And then community well sampling results, the New York State DOH folks who did those samplings are going to be there and take questions. And then we're going to have Community Science Institute and the Tompkins County Environmental Health departments there to talk about testing, how you can get your well tested here locally, and also opportunities for helping repair problematic septic systems with financing and all, and then more question and answer. So it should be very informative. And I hope that the board can make it. I can't, unfortunately. I have to be out of town for a meeting. I know. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else wish to address the town board? Okay, and I think we can move along.
Or approved, is anyone planning on going? If you have 3 people, then you have to put it out as a board meeting.
It, not necessarily is it, because it's attending a separate event that's for a dedicated
Right.
purpose. So no, like we're allowed to be in the same place, like we go to Mary's birthday party kind of thing. So not conduct business, but it's always good to keep in mind.
Were you gonna go?
Maybe.
I'm gonna go. I have another meeting.
Let's say, and you're on village water.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just check my baseball
I
schedule.
don't know what my Thursday night is looking like right now. I'm on
But you'll
on a
be there,
day-by-day
Michael?
basis. We have a presentation tonight up next. Yes, come on down. Would you like a podium? We can move it over.
That was when I need to be,
Well, just so you can be visible.
yeah, okay.
Probably. So you get you in there. Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you. Ezra's here from the Trumansburg Conservatory at Fine Art.
Yeah, just wanted to give, going around giving everyone an update on the project, renovation project that's underway. This is part of an outreach in the community to keep people informed. Right now, we're doing, first I want to thank everybody for their support over the course as we developed this project and funded it. It's come a long way. We couldn't do it without community support and the support, letters of support we received from Ulysses and Trumansburg. The project's been divided in 2 phases. We're currently in construction for phase 1, which includes the structural repairs to the building, masonry and repointing. And we're also doing code compliance work, which includes a new ramp, restoration of the portico and entrance doors. So the doors have been removed, which is very exciting to see the doors come off the building to be renovated in the shop. We're installing an ADA compliant bathroom. And the renovation of the lobby, which is where the restroom's going. And the lobby is gonna be new gypsum wall, new electrical upgrade and insulation. We're installing a lift to get people from the floor to the stage. They'll be part of this. Restoration of the building exterior, repaired wood, siding and ornamental woodwork. So you can buy the building, 3/4 of the way done. They had to stop because the front of the building's being worked on. We'll come back and finish that. And then we also replaced the roof on the 1901 edition. So that's the addition of the newer edition, which is in the back where the offices are. And yeah, the whole building's been repainted. So that work's underway. Pooling Construction is doing that work, and we're expected to have that finished sometime this summer. That portion of the project is $756,000, has been raised, it's fully funded.
Well,
Um,
congratulations.
so that is good news, and we thank all the foundations and the New York City Council of the Arts, and individual donors who really contributed to that. We're currently working on raising funds for the second phase 1B, we're calling it. And that's gonna really involve all the work in the interior of the main hall, all the plaster, except the ornamental plaster has to come down, it's all separated from the lath underneath. So that's all gotta come down, we have to scaffold the whole space, to be able to do that, and then reinstall, wallboard. We're also gonna be, while that plaster's down, we're gonna be insulating the walls, which right now, there's 2x10s framing in the walls, and there's no sheeting, it's just the siding on there, so that's really no insulation at all in that building. We were able to do that through a grant through the Park Foundation, was very kind enough to give us those funds. We're gonna be restoring the painting, and all of the ornamental details, insulating the walls, upgrading the electrical distribution. One of the big expenses to install acoustical ceiling and absorbing the wall panels. So we'll have an acoustical ceiling that looks like plaster, like the original ceiling did, but it'll be sound absorptive. So that the room, it's really difficult for musicians and young performers because it's so loud and reverberant. So that's an important part of this project. And then repair and upgrades the historic windows. So that's the next phase. I'm pleased to report that we received a second grant from the New York State Council of the Arts last week, I believe, of $328,000 towards the second phase.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're really pleased about that. It's they've been great in supporting the project, and this really helps us get closer. Together with the funds we already received, that helps us get near the budget of $532,000 for this phase. So we need to raise another $100,000 from project funds to complete the phase. So that will be done with one A and 1B. And that would total amount of work would be $1.2 million. So we're getting close to being $100,000 away from being able to fully fund it. There's still things we'd like to do, which we're still putting in grants to raise more money. We'd like to do the parking lot. Parking lot's a mess, but it wasn't in these phases. There's plenty of the whole building. There's plenty of things to do. I was attending a grant workshop kind of beginning today and looking at trying to get some money for some energy efficiency measures for that building. So that's all I have to report. It's we've come a long way, and I really appreciate everyone's patience. As soon as I can't give you a completion date until we have all the money. So it'll be 6 months after we have all the money is the plan. So glad everybody's patience, and I thank the community has really helped us find locations for our programs, why we are doing this. So we're able to just keep concerts and dance programs and other things going while this happens. So any questions? Great.
Bravo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
We know from direct experience that parking lots are expensive, so we know that that's not a small amount of money you'll need to raise for that.
Yes, and you know, we have a set of principles that we're using to make decisions that all the work be done in the long-term needs.
Absolutely.
You know, that it has to last a long time, because we don't have budgets to be doing these things every 5 years, so.
Of course.
It's expensive to do it that way, but it's best for the long term.
Do I remember correctly, you're working with the State Historic Preservation Office too? On
Yes.
the exterior? I'm a preservationist, and I was so delighted to hear that, because that's really such a great way to partner money and get extra grant points and just end up with a great final product.
Yeah, absolutely. We're following the Department of Interior guidelines.
Yeah.
And that was voiced by many people in the community. They thought we were getting new doors. I'm like, no, we're keeping new doors.
We're just preparing.
We're repairing them and making them accessible, so.
That's wonderful. And it's going to be a great testament in our community as an example of what you can do with a historic structure and still bring it up to serve the needs of the 21st century. So kudos on that as
Great.
well.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, thank you for the
Thank you.
update too.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful, happy project to be talking about. Let's talk about floods, which is not as fun, but we're doing what we can. I believe that's the next item on our agenda. Is to talk about this local law. Did anybody have any questions about the law itself? Otherwise, we can start going through the seeker review process. It's very straightforward because it's,
I mean, we were pretty much given this model law,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
it's been tweaked a little bit. If you want to look at, I have the red
That's
line
right.
version floating, a couple of copies of the red line version floating around.
You had yours?
Yeah, thank you.
But it's nothing substantive. we
I
have-
took a look at it. It's on the website.
Yep.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of flexibility. We did change the numbering so it better conforms to our code, but there's we don't actually, there's not like they want us, the DEC wants to rework it, and it actually has to be approved by, the draft has to be approved by DEC, so
Has that already happened?
yes, that's already happened. Yeah, we are on the final stage of we can approve it tonight. Everybody's ready.
All right.
And it legally, we have to go to the seeker first. It legally has to be done,
And ask all the questions.
no, we don't have to ask all the questions. No, I'm saying this legally has to be adopted by June 18th. And so Maureen asked a really good question over email today, and I just wanted to clarify that for you in the actual law. It refers to a number, you'll see this in the adoption resolution. And the deadline shows up as June 18th. But if you go into the law itself, it refers to a scientific and engineering report, flood insurance study, Tompkins County, New York, dated June 18th, which seems weird, but it's not. And the reason is, and I sent her the actual link to the federal government report. They're doing this all over the country constantly, right? Like it's not unique to Tompkins County. I don't know if it's by law or by policy, they release a report and it's the final report, and automatically it goes into effect 5 months from the date of that release. So it was released January 18th. So it automatically goes into effect June 18th. So that report is accepted and embraced and acknowledged as of June 18th, even though it was released January 18th. So that's why the June 18th date is in it. I confirmed with the attorney, with Nate today. He's like, yeah, this is just how they handle it. So it's not, because it would be weird to have a law. They basically want everything to go into effect the same day. The mapping goes into effect, the local laws go into effect, all of that happens essentially simultaneously. So it's just federal government legalese. So it is weird to adopt a resolution with a future date, but it's completely above board. So let's go then through the seeker information. The first page of the part one, all we had to do for this one is get to the first question, which asked us, is the proposed action only involve legislative adoption of a plan, local law, ordinance, administrative rule, or regulation? We mark yes. And that means we are done with part one and immediately go to part two. So congratulations. We are now on.
Sherman Ford spelled wrong.
Is it? Thank you for catching that. There's right. There's no way. Excellent. Would have been too easy otherwise.
Sorry.
No. Thank you for catching that. There's nothing else as well.
No, I didn't say anything else. Maybe something else.
And so that's part one. Part two, these have been pre-filled out for us by our planner, who doesn't think they will have any impact. It doesn't actually change. There's no material conflict. It doesn't actually change land use. All the projects in the future have to still go through review. So any questions on part two?
No.
Okay. And then, and so just so you know, the part one does require a short narrative because it's a plan. And that is available right here. That narrative was in the packet for part one. The intent of the proposed action is to amend portions of the proposed plan listed. This action is required under federal law for towns to continue to be eligible the National Flood Insurance Program due to FEMA's updated flood insurance study and flood insurance with maps of the town. So that's the narrative that a company says. And then we already covered part 2, and then we would need to, part 3, you need to answer for every question in part 2 that was answered, moderate to large impact may occur, or if there's a need to explain why one particular element of the proposed action will or will not result in significant adverse environmental impact, please complete part 3. And so part 3 right now is simply the proposal to repeal and replace regulations pertaining to the flood damage prevention law, pertaining to flood damage prevention, should not create any moderate to large impacts and should not result in a significant adverse environmental impact. And there you have it. Any questions?
No.
Yep. Okay, so this is the resolution related to seeker. That came passed around tonight, or is that at your table? That so I'm just gonna go through it and I'll read the resolutions. The very beginning and the resolutions. At a regular meeting of the town board of the town of Ulysses held at Ulysses Town Hall, 10 Elm Street, Trimford, New York, on the 27th day of May 2025. The following resolution was offered and seconded. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ulysses hereby makes a negative determination of environmental significance in accordance with the consolidated laws of New York State, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and NYCRR seeker for the above reference action is proposed based on the information in the SEAF Part 1 and for the reasons set forth above and in the SEAF Part 2, Parts 2 and 3. And therefore an environmental impact statement will not be required. Any questions about that? Motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And Carissa, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure, Mr. Boggs,
Yay.
Ms. Weatherby,
Yay.
Ms. Olson,
Aye.
Mr. Goldman, Ms. Bouchard.
Aye.
Thanks.
That is an environmental resolution down.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
And then Carissa, the only question I had on this one is what local law number we are at for the year. We're at 2. It has been a
Really?
quite a year for local law.
Yeah.
Great. So this is a resolution adopting, I'm sorry, are there any questions about the local law before we proceed to resolution?
No.
A resolution adopting local law number 2 of 2025, repealing and replacing chapter 89 of the town code entitled flood damage prevention. At the regular meeting of the town board of the town of Ulysses held at Ulysses Town Hall, 10 Elm Street, Ulysses, New York on actually Trumansburg, New York, not Ulysses. We'll make a little typo change there. On the 27th day of May 2025, the following resolution was offered and seconded. I'll read the whereases. Now therefore the town of Ulysses resolves the following. Section 1, finding of fact. The recitals that have set forth are adopted as findings of fact in support of the adoption of this local law. Section 2, repeal and replace. Local law number 2 of 2025 entitled a local law repealing and replacing chapter 89 of the town code entitled flood damage prevention is hereby adopted. Effective date. This resolution will take effect upon filing of the local law number 2 of 2025 with the Department of State. I will move that. Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I think we're gonna go ahead and do a roll call on this one also. Please.
Mr. Boggs,
You want a yay or an aye?
your choice.
Okay, yay.
It's I in the notes, in the
AYE.
minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ms. Weatherby,
I'll go aye this time.
Ms. Olson,
Yes. I.
Mr. Goldman, Ms. Bouchard.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Please, that. federal paperwork for the town, almost. Okay, and then I just wanted to, I did not join the Zoom call quickly. I was hoping to quickly join, and maybe if the board is amenable, I will, give me just 1 second. I wanted to join the Zoom call and then actually show you, what, Tompkins County is doing, to, improve, flood information communication. To.
For your volumes turned down and. Phones turned down.
My volume is
Keep your
on.
volume.
Audio is off.
Your video's on.
My video is on. I'm going to log my video. I'm interested in what I do. And. Would you mind did you already make me a co-host? Thank you. See if this works. Okay, I just wanted to, this is, if you Google, and I think this is honestly the fastest, easiest way to do it. I'm sharing my screen so everybody else can see it, which makes no sense, sorry. If you Google Tompkins County and flood, this page, is the first page that will show up in the Google results. And Tompkins County has had this information to some degree, but it's been, considerably updated, recently. And they, especially in consideration for, all the new mapping and the fact that there are a sizable number of properties in Tompkins County that are now considered to be in flood risk areas, that were not previously. And because of this, the county, I think, is really making an effort, to be on the front end of providing information. So this is a good place. Let me say that in Ulysses, there was not a large number of properties. It's really only a handful of properties whose flood status changed in the course of this. But that doesn't mean that people don't experience flooding in Ulysses. It's just simply, the flood mappings aren't necessarily identifying high risk, to new properties. But I just wanted to bring this to the town's attention, and that there are a lot of different videos about, that, and these are produced by FEMA, but are, being fed through Tompkins County, so that, that people can better understand, resources in their community. And one thing I wanted to draw people's attentions to is actually there are insurance policies available for contents. If you're a renter or if you are a rental property, you can actually encourage, your tenants to consider flood insurance. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there that flood insurance is only available to property owners. And it's in fact also, they have options that are available to tenants as well. And those cover content, right? They don't cover, other things. But I just, we're not going to go through the whole packet, of course. But what I wanted to point out is, that Tompkins County, number one, that it has this information available, in case, the community is interested. And we're going to push this out in the newsletter as well. But because this is a developing topic, they're actually, and they provide a form, where you can actually click on it if there are things on this website that you want more information on, or you think the public would benefit from more specific details, or you think something's missing, that they're actually very actively interested in the public letting them know what they want to see, because they want to push out as much good information as possible. And then if the unfortunate event happens that there is a flood, they actually have information available, on here about, actually how to start filing claims, and how to handle and that information then becomes pushed out on a case by case basis, if events happen, but they are ready to do that. So just wanted to, make a plug for this, given that we're adopting new mapping, and that to your point, people own properties in different counties, they own in different municipalities, they have friends in that live outside Ulysses, and this might be useful information for them. So I am going to stop sharing, and unless you make me not co-host, I am not going to stop doing. I'm not going to do anything because I've canceled meetings accidentally before when I closed out. So I will just leave this alone.
Permissions.
Remove permissions. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Tompkins County did a nice presentation to TCOG last week, and I just wanted to pass some of that information along. Okay. And then another item that came out of TCOG, Tompkins County Council of Governments, is that the county is considering potentially taking over address numbering for all the municipalities. And this has been something that's been percolating in Tompkins County for, well, Chris, and we started talking about it, what, like 2 years ago? I mean, it's been a while.
10 years.
But what they're looking for is just general feedback from municipalities on whether or not municipalities would want Tompkins County to take it over. Basically, they're going to need buy-in from all the municipalities in order for them to
What's
take
the
it over.
implications of taking one?
So, Krista, why don't because Krista handled this for us.
When
Okay.
I first started this position, I learned that it was my job to assign new addresses, but I was looking for like, what's the rationale? What do I want to take into consideration? There didn't seem to be a lot of streamlined information on how to do it. It seemed to just be like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just,
Pick a
make
number.
something up.
Well, actually, I asked the former clerk how she assigned numbers and it was like, kind of random.
Yeah, but the main thing you want it to make sense for emergency, county emergency purposes. And since emergency things are generally kind of at the county level, you kind of want that to match up.
So
Yes.
I mean, there's no downside.
So I'm not aware of any downsides. Nate has never had a client ask this question before because like it's typically done at the county level. And
Is it?
Yeah, apparently so. That's in his experience. It's mostly done at the county level. So he was actually surprised that we do it. So I have no idea how other counties are handling it. He's gonna look into it. We don't need to take any action tonight. I just wanted to float this. We do have, so the county would be in charge of numbering and they would also, so what happened, my understanding is a couple of years ago, they had a situation where EMS first responders were sent to a location and it was actually on the other side of the lake because it was the same address in different municipalities, like the same street address. And it ended up, right, you don't want to have that happening. And anyway, that's where I think there was part of the impetus to start considering this. If the county took it over, there would be an intention on their part to kind of apply a more logical, approach to assigning new addresses, but there would be some cases, I would imagine, including in the town of Ulysses, where they may undertake an address change for some properties. The reason being, Iredell Road is a great example. On Iredell Road, it starts in Ulysses, it's the 100s, and on the Enfield side, it's the 1000s. And so, yeah, so you could be on the same block with just radically different numbers because Enfield signed theirs and Ulysses assigned theirs, and this is how we end up here. So there are places like that. Now, it wouldn't make a difference on county lines, right? Like if we have wacky numbers on a road, Seneca Road, if we have wacky on Seneca and Covert does also, that's probably not going to substantively change. I wouldn't imagine unless Tompkins County is talking to Covert or Seneca County. I don't know who handles theirs. But so there would be likely that if there were some sizable issues, addresses might be, property owners might have to undergo an address change. So I just wanted to, which isn't necessarily fun, but
kind of annoying. But
yeah. So, but I would say that it sounded like in most other municipalities in Tompkins, it sounds like code officers are actually doing the assigning. And so we're unusual that it's the clerk who's doing it, but
Actually, Molly's doing it.
Molly's
now.
doing it now.
She's the building and DPW clerk. It made more sense for her to do that over.
So now it actually is back in that department, so, we're like everybody else, so, anyway, I didn't, what I said in the TCOG meeting is that I had not come to you for direct feedback, but I understood from staff, and that I thought I was in favor of it. And that, so we didn't take a vote or anything, there's gonna be a presentation, I think on the July meeting is when they're intending to do it, but I wanted to just bring it to you to see if there were any alarm bells. Nate will vet it to see if there's any alarm bells on his side, nothing jumped to mind. But
Is this gonna be something that we have an option to opt in or out? I mean, it sounds like staff wants to opt in, or is this gonna be Tompkins County just saying, we're taking over everybody?
I think Tompkins County only wants to take it over if the municipalities want them to take it over. So I think doesn't make sense for Tompkins County to take over part of it and not all of it. So I think they're gonna look for universal buy-in from the
Okay.
municipalities. Other supervisors indicated that their municipalities are, maybe not at a formal vote, but are generally in agreement. But would be a good idea for the streamlined approach, because everybody's coming up with their own stuff. There's no
Yeah.
regulations about numbering.
No, it's
So-
scary if, I mean, in a situation where you have 10 Elm Street and here in Lansing, it's really bad if
It goes to the wrong.
medical assistance goes to the wrong one.
Yeah, so. Well, if you have any thoughts, let me know if your opinion changes or you learn something new, it gives you cause for concern. But we won't take any formal action doing it until it comes back to a board vote anyway, so.
Can I ask, would they be outside the village proper, properties outside the village proper, what you're talking about?
No, it would be all municipalities. So if Town of Ulysses doesn't handle properties inside the village, but the village would be an entity who would also need to affirmatively, to the best of my understanding, affirmatively give permission to the county. So I don't know if they assign as many, there's new buildings. There's certainly been some new construction.
Only neighborhood.
So our vote would have no bearing on the village's choices, though. Okay. Thank you very much. We are moving right along. I did have another thing that made onto the resolutions but not make it on the page, which I'm sorry about that, and I did actually put it in the email to the town board. If the board is amenable, we have somebody who would like to be appointed to the tree committee. Does anybody feel like we could add that in tonight's meeting? It's fine.
Sure.
Okay. Suzanne Hillman applied to join the Ulysses Tree Committee. So I would make a motion to appoint Suzanne Hillman to the Ulysses Tree Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a question. Is there a term for that?
So I believe it's a one-year term. I believe that the tree is through, so appointed to the committee through December 31st. 2023. Thank you, Carissa. So it's a friendly amendment. Is my seconder okay, comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Repeat that, get it correct. Don't want any legal challenges to our tree committee appointments. Thank you, Carissa. Okay, we have our next regular town board meeting. This seems like a short meeting.
Yeah.
I would not be prepared to think that the June 10th one is. So bring snacks or have your snack beforehand. We're going to it's a regular business meeting to report some of that. But we're going to start delving into seeker. And I should have a draft donation agreement for public review, that board packet too, for the Pritz consideration our consideration of the Pritz donation of land for a public park. So that's coming back June 10th. And we are also going to be Niels is going to join us for that meeting, as well as it sounds like a couple members of the planning board for a conversation on Development District 3 and how the board wants to proceed with the recommendations that we've received from the planning board. So it'll be a land use heavy meeting. and then, June 8th, the town board and committee training is, I'm sorry, not June 8th, June 18th. Is from 5 to 7 PM at town hall. This committee, this training, is really going to be geared towards, the issues that boards, and committees face as opposed to what's more common at a staff level. Hope you can attend. If you've already taken or will be taking your, sexual harassment prevention training in New York State, you don't have to attend that portion. I'll make sure, you know which portion that is. So if you want to come or leave early, arrange that. Most likely we'll probably do it on the second half, so that people can bow out early if they so choose. And if you have questions that you'd like covered in that, it's I actually received a couple questions already from somebody on a different board. So if there are things you would like Gina, the attorney that provides the training, to talk about, that'd be really helpful to have in advance, and she'd be happy to incorporate it. Then we're closed, the town buildings are closed for Juneteenth, which is Roxanne's daughter's birthday, right? Do I recall that correctly, Roxanne?
Yep, right.
And then we have our next regular meeting on June 24th. That brings us to approval of the minutes. Michael asked a good question last time about making sure that the amounts in the MRB resolution were correct. We affirmed that they are correct. So those presented from the April 2022 2025 meeting, those numbers are correct. And then we also had the minutes from our last meeting on May 13th, 2025. Does anybody have any other questions or concerns about those?
Nope.
Okay, motion to approve both sets of minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have no board notifications. Before we go, does anybody else have anything they want to make sure the rest of the board's aware of, or the public's aware of? Before we
How
go?
we doing with the
I'm sorry?
parking lot?
Is it done?
The final thing that needs to be done is Scott is tapping it tomorrow, tamping it.
Tamp.
Tamping, not tapping. I mean, it's kind of a tapping action, but more formal, it's a tamp, it's being tamped tomorrow. It was, the understanding was that it was our understanding from the other owner's attorney was that it was only expected to be 2 inches of asphalt. It was 6 inches of asphalt. So we did actually do some fill with their approval. And which the board had approved allowing. So now that fill is being tamped down, and the barrier you can see is removed. The actual orange cones will be removed after the tamping, but that's the barrier has been up for the last week due to the other owner wanting to make sure that nobody was injured crossing it. So it's been up with permission. And they started removing the asphalt the day we had that torrential storm of Thursday, and they were actually in the middle of it when all the lightning strikes were happening. My family was in a car on 89 right at the break to come to Kingtown Beach in 89, and a bolt of lightning hit 10 feet from their car. So it was a very active storm area. So Scott Stewart made the decision to cease working in those conditions.
So
And that was Thursday afternoon, and then the DPW was off, and then Scott Stewart wanted to make sure that any work that was done with the other owner there. And so they were able to meet and finish it up. Most of the work happened today. It's just been so rainy. It's been hard to get out there. And so we had good weather today, so they got everything done except for that final tamping, and then tomorrow it'll be done. So,
okay.
yeah.
Just for the comp plan, there's gonna be a comp plan steering committee meeting next Wednesday, the 4th at 5:30, if anybody wants to join.
We don't have any drafts yet, do we, to review?
No, but we have 3, so I really hope we get them soon.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
thought.
sure Roxanne is thinking the same thing. That's gonna be a lot to review in no time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yes, it will be. Okay, I'm glad I'm not behind on reviewing.
no,
'cause I was
no,
like,
we haven't
"Think
gotten
about
them
yet.
No, we haven't gotten them yet.
Okay. But the plan is to be wrapped up with drafts early September, right?
Early September for the next public informational session where everybody could review and provide input on the drafts sections or draft chapters in the September timeframe. We're trying to get it at Rackers to try to get
Diverse
a
geography.
mix of places for our meetings.
How usually does it come to the board?
Hopefully November. That is aggressive, but we're trying to stay on target. We want to finish it this year
Yeah.
for multiple reasons.
So, okay, anybody else? Go to the order. Any news before we go to privilege of the floor? Okay, we are back full circle to privilege of the floor. Is there anybody, a person who wishes to address the board on any topic? Please go ahead.
Just to follow up on Richard's comment about the parking lot. There had been a posting on Facebook that tended to provide ask some questions and provide information that was not quite accurate from I had seen and heard happened here at the meeting on April 8th, and then I followed up looking at minutes that you had. I was trying to find FAQ that you normally do for something like projects, and I didn't find one. I'm wondering if you would find that to be beneficial to present the information. Because I commend the action that this board took and the time that you took to make sure that this project was done correctly, and talking about all the flood issues and the information I think was presented incorrectly, presented the board in a poor light. I found the conversation that evening, and I spoke of it at the end of that meeting in April, that it was a very civil engagement with the property owner. And that you both agreed that the attorneys would be consulted and let them try to work out the legal issues. I don't think the questions that were asked, that the person had done enough research to find out what legal restrictions were there that made this a very challenging project. It was great to walk back here tonight and see the ADA compliance, and that you're working through the other issues in following New York state law for what we're able to do with taxpayer dollars. So I appreciate that very much, and just wondering if a FAQ might be of benefit, so the correct information is out there.
Well, I appreciate that. And one thing we're actually doing, and I'm trying to just confirm the dates, is I actually am hoping on June 18th, in advance of the board and committee training, that there'll be a lot of people here for, is to actually from 4 to 5 have an open house with a document like you're actually talking about it, and have an open house for the public. So anybody who's interested in coming and actually seeing our new infrastructure to have additional electrical vehicle charging, why we had lighting back there. If you've been here at night, there's no lighting back there. It was dangerous. We're putting up cameras actually on that pole as well. So people can actually see it and ask questions if they're interested, but actually create a document very much similar. I don't know if it's going to be an FAQ as much as more of a bulleted, organized document, but I can tell you that there were staff members who thoroughly agreed with what you just said, who want to make sure that there's accurate information being pushed out, because there's a lot of misunderstanding about the difference in doing a public project versus a private project.
Right.
Everything from prevailing wage to meeting engineering assessment to the importance of investing in a project, much like Ezra was talking about with TCFA. You don't want a project you have to repair in 5 years. So for instance, we put 6 inches of thicker asphalt on the driveway because neighboring properties have a right of way to use that and are bringing in on a monthly basis tractor trailers. There was a reason this was in such bad shape. Tractor trailers put so much weight, right? So we wanted to reinforce that space so that it has longevity, so that we're not looking at a new project in 5 years. We're not looking at a new project in 10 years. Personally, the engineering hope is that we can get 20+ years out of this parking lot, right? So I think you're spot on, and I think it is confusing. And I will be perfectly honest when I say I didn't put together an FAQ because I didn't realize there would be such public interest in a parking lot. But I am always delighted to provide more information when there's opportunities to do so. So I do hope you're available on June 18th. We'll be pushing that out in the newsletter. If you want to stop by, and we'll have some snacks, and people can poke around and we can answer questions, and just have a nice opportunity to show up our new parking lot. So
And I just had personal interest in it, not because of those two properties, but I referenced our property in Covert, that when the property next door was sold, discovered we encroach our back door and coming out of our kitchen. Our porch is not on our property, it's on our neighbor's property, and their stream that's on their property is what floods ours. But as private citizens, we
Right.
can do neighborly things and share in expenses, unlike what you're dealing with here, because you're a public entity and private properties as well. So it's very complicated,
It is.
and I think, you know, the statement was made, it oversimplified what you were trying to do with this parking lot. It was a very complex project that involved a lot of legal issues, and those are not either made clear enough for the public or misunderstood by the public.
well, I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. That's very helpful as we work on that document. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the town board? Either online or in person? Okay, well then, Rich,
Well, this has to be a record move to adjourn.
It's still light.